after Satan and your flesh, the next greatest enemy to the Christian is their emotions when unchecked. Man, your emotions can do a number on you. That's it, I'm mad at God. Get mine now. Turn your back on him. A little emotional decision can lead to a bad. And the sad part is just because you get mad at God and have your little tiff, it doesn't mean that the consequences of whatever happens during that phase go away. So you want to, from the jump, I want to make sure that I challenge you, that I challenge myself to identify. You know what's another, I believe, high energy consuming negative emotion? Reasoning. Why, God, why? When, God, when? What's reasoning? Reasoning's trying to figure out with your natural mind what the Holy Spirit has not revealed to you yet. That's reasoning. That consumes energy. You know what else consumes energy? Regret. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. If only I'da. These are all emotions that consume capital, and you don't even realize it, but you're, for the purposes of our discussion, you're on your metaphoric emotional treadmill. See, the enemy wants to, because remember the word emote, remember our definition, the word emote means to role play in a theatrical manner. So, thoughts are the script, emotions are the actors. So if he can get you, and if you're like me, man, I'm preaching to myself right now. If he can get you emoting, remember, thoughts are the script, emotions are the actors. If he can get Chris thinking on the wrong thing, then I have all these Academy Award-winning actors in my head going to work. And then I wonder why I can't focus at times, or why I'm tired, or why I need to go to bed extra early, or whatever it is. If we are not careful about this, emotions, well, let me change to this. Depression is simply your emotions saying, listen carefully, we don't have the energy to be optimistic. Depression is your emotions saying, we don't have the energy to be excited about life. Why? Because we're exhausted. What caused the exhaustion? The consumption, anger, consumption, bitterness, consumption, unforgiveness, consumption, fear, consumption. This is why it's so critical. We have a 3-week teaching series on this called Negative Emotions. It's critical. Is this 3 weeks? Yeah, 3 weeks. It's critical that you make an investment in this teaching. I think we have 5 copies over there. Because this will help you identify what your negative emotions are, how they get fed, how to starve them, because the way to get rid of a negative emotion is to starve it and feed the positive ones. And to understand the price that you're paying for the negative emotions. I don't want to get off track, but one of our case studies is a man named Haman, the book of Esther. This guy is second in command. He's Xerxes' ace boon coon. All he had to do was just chill. But because one man named Mordecai wouldn't give him his props, one man wouldn't bow. One man wouldn't bow. Everybody else bowed, but one man. It consumed him. His negative emotions got so strong that he wasn't content to get even with Mordecai. No, he had to kill all the Jews. One unchecked emotion. And as a result, that he built gallows to hang Mordecai, and he ended up getting hung on it himself. But what was the origin of his demise? He was second in command. Now you have to ask yourself, before you snicker at Mordecai, what person in your life isn't giving you your props and it's causing you to have all-consuming emotions? Whoa. What person? Remember, we want to be systematic about this. We want to get to the root. I want to identify, I'm in a search, a quest to identify those negative emotions that consume high levels of mental capital and energy in my life. Because I can't afford to siphon my energy off to those when I have all the things that God's placed in my heart. Then I want to systematically uproot them. Then I want to recognize that in the absence of doing that, I won't have any energy left for the things God called me to do. This is a total sidebar, but this is why you need your spiritual family, because you've got to get those emotions out some way. You get them out exercising, you get them out through prayer, you get them out to having heartfelt discussions with God. But one of the most cathartic things that you can experience is sharing something with a safe person and feeling understood. Sometimes you don't even need them to give you a solution. You just need to be heard. And being heard creates a positive emotion or an invigorating emotion or an energizing emotion to counteract the negative emotion of the situation or scenario you may find yourself in. And like a dry drunk, I believe in the context of what we're discussing, I can walk around with a low level of depression, and based on what we just discussed, not even be aware of it. I may be identifying the symptoms. I may be identifying or articulating the fruit of it. Man, I'm tired. Man, I just can't focus. Man, I lost my energy. Man, I'm not as excited. But I'm not aware of what's driving it. So let's make a couple of statements about depression. Number one, depression has less to do with what's happening to us on the outside and more to do with how we respond to it. Do you realize your worst case scenario is somebody else's breakthrough? There are people in third world countries who would kill to be experiencing the worst problem you have right now. It's not necessarily what's happening to you, but it's how you respond or how you're responding to it. That's why you want to be good responders. Next statement I want to make about depression is depression comes from concentrating on the negative. Whatsoever is true, lovely, of good rapport, if there be any virtue or praise, think on these things, Philippians 4:8 tells us. Look at the criteria. Whatsoever is true. Is it true what you're thinking about? If the enemy says you're not going to make it, but this Psalms 37 says, I've never seen the righteous forsaken or a seed begging for bread, then is it true what you're thinking about? Is it lovely or loving? Would a loving God do that to you? What the enemy's telling you. Remember, the enemy works by propaganda and fear. Literally, the enemy works by terrorism. What's terrorism? Terrorism, write this definition, is the organized use of fear. What does Al-Qaeda use against the United States? By the grace of God, we've been able to minimize, and other countries have been able to minimize their attacks, but it's the fear that they may strike again that causes us and many of the other top nations to consume so much mental capital. So depression comes from concentrating on the negative